Welcome to FailCraft, the podcast where we dive into the messy, real side of success and explore how setbacks become the stepping stones to growth and clarity. I'm your host, Ezekiel, and today's guest is Tommy A. Kilpatrick. Tommy is a man who doesn't just think outside of the box. He questions if the box even exists. Years ago, an infomercial deal collapsed, leaving him holding an $85,000 bag of debt. He decided to reverse engineer the banking system. He went down a legal rabbit hole, representing himself in court against major banks, and developed a controversial theory that the credit card debt suffocating millions of people might be based on a glitch in the matrix. He is the author of Forgive and Forget, and more recently, a pioneer in AI technology with MobileWise. He's here to talk about the day the dream died, why he believes banks are playing a different game than the rest of us, and how to fight back when the system fails you. So, Tommy, I am very excited to welcome you to FailCraft. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
It's great to have you here. So let's get started, Tommy. Let's start with the setback. You mentioned an Act 1, Scene 1 moment involving an infomercial deal that went south. Can you take us back to that moment? How did you end up with an $85,000 bag of debt? And what was the emotional reality of realizing you were underwater?
Yes, in 2004, I had written a book on health and healing. I was given an infomercial contract. So I had to be available for interviews on the radio, kind of like what this is here. And so I lived on my credit cards for 6 months. Now, you say, why would you do that? Well, I was promised $100,000 a month. So I'd still make $15,000 that month. So I didn't mind it at all. But then what happens, one of the talents, he got in trouble with the FTC about false claims in his book. So they came down hard on him and his company and our company. So my contract was canceled. And there I was left with $85,000 of credit card debt. And I had no way to pay it back. And it really put me in a tailspin, in a depression. So about a month later, I woke up one morning thinking about my dad. He was a CPA, a certified public accountant, and I was in school to be a CPA. I never got the credential, but I can do the work. And I realized the bank did not have an invoice. My gosh. And then remembering my banking classes in college, the Federal Reserve put out a book called Modern Money Mechanics on page 6. It says right there, what banks do is they accept your promissory note first, then they write numbers in your free checking account. I never signed a promissory note. And then my father at the time was an attorney and a judge, and we had long conversations about fraud and does all contracts. So even if you use the card, terms and conditions, it's all null and void because there's fraud involved. So you don't have to believe me at all. And then what happened is that, let me finish the story. So then I saw a thing on YouTube, basically, that talked about going to federal court is so simple and so easy. And so I did it. It wasn't easy. It wasn't fun at all. So I filed 3 federal lawsuits against the banks, and the judge called me in. We were going along pretty good. We had depositions set up. The bank was going to send an employee to my office and answer all my questions. And all of a sudden I got called into court. So I went into court, and the judge said, Mr. Kilpatrick, do you have a credit card? I went, no, really? It was a gift card. A gift card? Pull your card out. He pulled my card out. What do you read what it says right there? Credit card. You are an idiot, sir. Get out. So he threw my 3 cases out of court. About a month later, I looked at my credit report, and all 3 banks were off my credit report because if I filed a motion to set it aside or get that decision undone, we could have gone forward with a lawsuit. But if it's not on my credit report, I have no evidence of a debt, right? So the banks were very smart about not letting anybody know about this. And that's what they did, is they removed it on my credit report. And so that's how I didn't get out of debt, which I thought I was at the time. I discovered the banks are actually committing a crime. So you don't need to believe me at all. You don't need to believe anything I have to say today. I have some show notes that will link you to places where you can verify what I'm saying is true. And the other one is it possible that you've been lied to, indoctrinated, and brainwashed? And what I mean by that is a lie is a lie. We know what that is. Indoctrination's over and over again. But being brainwashed means you don't question. All I ask you to do is to question this. So you were given a card a long time ago by your mother and father. This is a credit card. You owe the money. And so that's indoctrination. So right there from that start is the banks do not have an invoice. A credit card could have never been issued. 2, there never was a loan because you have to sign a promissory note. And 3, fraud undoes all contracts. So it's not getting out of debt. What it really is realizing you're a victim of bank fraud against you. So the banks make about $23.04 on average of every cardholder. So they're getting you to pay $23.04 every month on a free checking account. So let me just start saying one thing is there are true credit cards. Okay, let me cover that really quickly. If you go to, let's say, a tire store or any merchant and you say, I want to buy your product or your service, but I don't have any money, they could say, oh, we'll give you credit. You just pay it back later. And they actually fill out a application for a card. And if you're approved, you'll get your credit. So you do, and you drive away without paying for your tires or the service to put them on your car. And a month later, you get a statement, which is true, and you owe the money. Now, it sounds like the same thing I'm saying, that you don't owe the money. Well, all you do is look on the back. If the back of that card, Amazon or Walmart or anything like that, and if it says issued by Bank of America, Citibank, Wells Fargo, Bank of India, Bank of London, Bank of Tokyo, that is now a phony card. So you don't owe that money because they don't have an invoice. So you have an invoice, pay it. If you don't have an invoice, it's not a true credit card.
All right. So, Tommy, you talk about nuking credit card debt. So how is that different from bankruptcy?
Oh, yes. I talked to one guy who had $750,000 of bank-issued alleged credit card debt. How'd they do that? He got 30 cards of $25,000 each. So there's $750,000. These were actually gift cards. Years ago, the bank would advertise to get you to come into the bank, and your mother maybe went into the bank years ago and came home with a toaster or a wall clock. And the bank did that to get them to open an account. Your dad came home and said, how'd we get a new toaster? The bank gave it to me. Didn't cost you anything? No, they want me to be a customer. Okay. So where did that money come from? It came from an advertising budget. So the bank has an advertising budget. One time in the newspaper, it said, come into our bank and deposit $25 and we'll match it in 90 days. So what did I do? I came in, deposited my $25, and 91 days, I closed the account and took $25 of my money and $25 of the bank's money. Now, did I steal the money? No, I don't think I stole the money. Was that immoral? No, the bank said, do this and we'll do it. So they had to anticipate on some people like me coming into the bank, walking away with their money. Let's see.
All right.
Yeah, so that's an advertising budget, and it's no different than a $500 credit card. When they give you a $500 credit card, that credit card came in the mail was actually a gift card. It's not a credit card. They were trying to induce you to become a customer because they know they're going to get $23.04 every month. So in about 22 months, they'll make their money back. But they got you paying the bank $23.04 every month and for the rest of your life. So that's the story a little bit. So you don't want to go the bankruptcy route. You might want to do that. Go right ahead. But if it's for credit card debt, it's not a debt.
Okay. So, Tommy, you argue that what we think is a loan isn't actually a loan. So how do you see it differently? And why do you claim banks don't actually lend money?
That's absolutely correct. What happens is that when they get that gift card, what did you do with the gift card? So let me ask you a question, Ezekiel. If I gave you a gift card for $500, what would you want to buy right now for one thing for $500? Give me an example, something you'd like to have.
Maybe a PS5.
Okay. So you'd want to buy a PSI. Is
Mm-hmm.
that right? Okay.
Yeah.
So you go to the store and you buy this and you're walking out and they say, did you pay for that? And you have a receipt, right? You didn't pay for it, but you have a receipt. That store is going to get paid by the bank that night or the next day, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
not going to let you walk out with their product. They're going to get paid. You can walk out.
Yeah.
Now, at the end of the month, are you going to get a statement from that store saying you owe them $500? No, you're never going to get a statement from them, but you get a
Yeah.
statement from the new bank of, let's say, Bank of USA. So the Bank of USA credit card, which is actually a gift card, was sent to you. You use the card, a gift, you should use a gift. You bought the item, you own it, and now you get a statement. A statement is not a bill. They fool you. They lie to you. So a statement is only a summary of accounts. And so it showed where your gift money went to. You thought it was a bill. So what did you do? You're a good person. You're a moral person. You write out a $500 check from your bank and mail it to the Bank of USA. That's the first time the bank has ever received your money, correct? When
Mm-hmm.
banks receive money in, it's a loan to the bank. So you technically wrote a check out for $500, loaned that money to the bank. They put that into your free checking account. And now the only way you can access your free checking account is through your debit card disguised as a credit card. It's a little bit confusing, but they use the same card to do two different things. One's a gift card to get you to be a customer. Once you sent money in, now the only way you can access your money is through your debit card. So every purchase you've made since then has been with your own money.
Mm.
You put money into the bank, you use the money, you get a statement which shows where the money went. It's all correct. And now they make you think you got to owe them interest. So that's why the banks they're only involved in loans. So if you go into a bank and want a loan, you have to fill out loan documents. Now, if you apply and they turn you down, you don't get the loan. So an application means a request. So you request a loan, they say yes, you come and you fill out loan documents. You got to prove that you have an income. You have to prove that you can be able to pay it back. You have to have collateral, because what happens if you don't pay? They got to take something away from you. And you have to fill out, the last thing you sign is a promissory note. So if you don't sign a promissory note, you're not promising anything to the bank. So the bank is not going to give you money unless you promise to pay them back. So that's how banks don't really loan any money to anybody, because what they do is they have you sign a promise to pay them back, and then they write numbers into your free checking account.
That was a very insightful response, Tommy. So you went into court without a lawyer against really big institutions. That's quite terrifying for most people. Did you ever feel like you were out of your depth, or did the failure of the system give you the confidence to push through?
Oh boy. Yeah. In the beginning, it was quite scary. Then as I progressed through, I was feeling more confident. But then when a judge called me in the court and just threw it out, I was back to being really depressed. But it was when I saw the credit report and I was actually right. So it's like, wait a second. I knew I was right. Where's the invoice? That's all I had to ask the bank. Where's the invoice? Where's the promissory note? And have someone in the bank sign an affidavit of debt. Really simple. Someone in the bank has to swear out on a penalty of perjury that you owe the bank money from either a invoice or a loan, whichever it is. Tell me what it is. And they won't sign that. So this has been the interesting trek along the way, because there is a solution. On these podcasts, I met one lady, 71 years old, who was sued by Chase Bank for $12,000. She had already got a summary judgment against her. And then when I got involved, we sent a letter to the Attorney General. We're accusing the bank of doing fraud. So you have to have evidence of you being a crime victim, right? So I had her get a copy of her credit report. Then what you need is to have evidence or proof that you've complained. And that's what we're doing. She complained to the Comptroller of the Currency, the Federal Reserve, the different agencies, the FTC, and her state attorney general. We demanded from the attorney general to ask the bank for those three things. One, an invoice. Two, a promissory note. And three, a signature on this piece of paper that says you owe the money. They sent that to Chase Bank. Chase Bank responded, okay, and basically said, she applied for a credit card. She got the card. She used the card. Here's the statements. And we got a summary judgment against her. She's unhappy and we're going to win anyway. So make her go away. Well, they didn't sign it and no one put their name to it. So in a legal document, that means nothing. So now she's waiting, and maybe another week or so, she's going to be getting a letter from the Attorney General saying, we have contacted Chase Bank. They are unwilling or unable to provide you the evidence for us, the evidence that there is actually a debt. So in our opinion, you do not have a debt at this time. We're going to send this letter to Chase and let them respond to you, and maybe we'll work it out. So they're not the judge, but at least they're telling her what they did, what the bank did not do. They did not respond. And silence is a form of agreement. So that's what we expect to happen. So yes, you can get not out of debt, but you can stop being a crime victim by just a simple letter.
All right. That was an interesting and elaborate response, Tommy. So I like to ask you a personal one. You've gone from massive debts and legal battles to living in the Philippines and building cutting edge tech. So I'd like to know, at this stage in your life, what does being successful truly mean to you now?
Yes. I thought before chasing the dollar, being married, having kids, and the whole attitude just had to keep working harder and harder to keep making the money. And I realized it was all for nothing. So about 15 years ago, the wife said, get out and take the dog with you. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I became homeless on purpose. I had a vow of poverty for 10 years. I lived off grid. I was living in Maine on a farm, living life, not being connected to anything. I would not watch the news. I didn't watch the internet. I was totally off grid. And then shift happens. You got to make sure you pronounce the F, but shift happens. And I found myself on the outside. So I had no ID. So I had to start that whole process. It took about 6 months. It's amazing trying to get your birth certificate and things without an ID. So I finally got my ID and passport and things. And then I noticed on my credit report, I had no credit. But I needed a card to get an airline ticket, and especially a credit card to rent a vehicle to take me down to the New Jersey area where I was going to fly out of. So I applied to Capital One for a $500 credit card, and they gave me one to a guy who has no score and no history because I was a previous customer. Okay. But that was one of the banks I sued for $35,000. So even though I sued the bank and they had me on their list, obviously I sued them, but I was a good customer. So they want me to make that $23.04 every month. So they don't care if you call the game in and opt out. You can turn right around and reapply. So what I did is I came here to the Philippines for the purpose of teaching farmers how to build dome houses. And that's why I'm out here in the countryside. I came looking for an asawa, which means a wife, which I have found. So this is fantastic for my life, has turned around. I would say to all the gentlemen out there, go to a country where you are welcomed. And the Philippine women love American men. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter how old you are. They love you. And it's just an amazing country to be well loved. So I'm here to share my knowledge of dome houses and dome structures. We've built many already on many farms. We're going to be opening up medical clinics and some community centers. And that's what I'm here to do. I've written a book on how to speak and soon be translated into Cebuano and Tagalog. Those are the three major languages. So I may be back in our podcast talking about my new book on how to speak a new language in 30 days.
Okay.
So that's what's all meaning for me. So success for me is living life and giving more than giving back.
All right, that's a really great response, and I look forward to the possibility of having you back some other time. But in the meantime, Tommy, for our listeners who want to go learn about your book or just generally connect with what you are doing and follow you on your work, so where is the best place for them to go?
Just my name right there, Tommy A. Kilpatrick, and it's on Amazon. I'm the only one I'm an only author with that name. And you can look me up on YouTube and on Facebook, same thing, and you'll find me. We'll talk. I offer a free consultation.
All right, Tommy, it's been a really great time having a conversation with you, and I'm excited to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Great.